So as I was saying in the last video, there's this technique that I thought of in my head that I want to try. It's yarn, fiber, and stitch development. Because this is a 7-gauge machine, I wanted to come up with a way to create volume in a yarn that was too fine to knit on its own on this machine. But I don't want to ply it up because that can get really dense, which isn't good for spring. I don't know if it's going to work or look good, but this is part of the process. So one of the techniques that I wanted to try was to take a really fine yarn. This is like a nylon clear. It's kind of like a fish line kind of yarn. It's so thin and you can't knit this by itself on a 7-gauge machine. So I was trying to chain link it, which is kind of like crochet. It's kind of like doing little crochet hooks. I have a hook and I'm just doing basically loops. And when you do a loop, you kind of triple ply up the yarn when you do these loops. I wanted to see if I could make basically this chain link yarn and then knit that because it just kind of bulks it up a little bit and creates a little bit more volume. But I'm not really loving this, and it's looking okay actually, but it's taking forever and you barely get anything linked out of it. It's a really tiny piece of yarn. So that was the first thing I wanted to try. That's pretty quick, and I think that that's a pretty failed technique. So moving on to the next idea I have. The next thing that I wanted to try with this yarn was to actually knit it first in a tubular form and then knit that tube. So I was gonna just first try to knit it. Let's just see how it comes out. It's in like tube form. And when I say tube, I kind of mean like, or chain. This one is a really good example of a chain fiber it's kind of been linked. You can see the original fiber is quite thin and it's kind of like linked or knitted into like a tube to make it a chunkier yarn. And I'm doing 2 needles on the top bed, 2 needles on the bottom bed to create a circle. So it looks like circular knitting. And then it's just going to create this really thin tube, which would hopefully be a thicker fiber than just this single ply thread. This is really hard to cast on because it's so tiny. I'm not sure what's happening. Oh, there we go. Okay, and then we just move through. So let's see. I think we need this to be tighter. This is interesting. Alright, this is going to take me a little while to create this whole... Ooh, I'm actually excited. Oh, that looks really nice. I'm really excited about this. This is going to take me a little bit of time to knit enough to make a swatch, so I'll come back at you in like 30 minutes or an hour, because I'm really liking this. So I think once I have some, like a serious long piece of thread that then we can re-knit on the machine. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I've got my new yarn here that I made. That's a lot thicker now after knitting it into a thicker fiber, basically. And so I'm just going to take out the thin fiber. This is the fiber that I was using. It's super thin. So take that off the machine. I'm going to put this on. I just made, because it's pretty labor intensive and time consuming, I just made this small little ball just to try. So we're just going to knit a jersey stitch. Just a little, probably like a square like this, just to see how it looks, just for fun. Okay. Okay, and here's my finished swatch. It's really gonna roll a lot, but it's very white. I don't know if I like it because it's just kind of white. I was hoping it would be more see-through than it is, but you know, you don't know until you try these things. Yeah, I'll have to think about it. It's okay, but I think, and it's also really labor intensive because you obviously knit the yarn first and then you knit the fabric. So it's not really realistic when it comes to doing this for a collection, but it was something I was interested in trying because I end up getting a lot of yarns that are too fine for this machine. But yeah, I don't think it's worth trying to ply it up in this way. Like just plying it up like normally is fine, where you take, you know, maybe 3 cones and you take 3 ends, 1, 2, 3, and you knit these all at the same time. That is the normal ply up, and that's fine because then you just stick it in and you just knit it and there's no extra work. But the whole knitting the fiber in a tubular form, it's really labor intensive and it's probably not worth it. And this just visually didn't come out the way I thought. This is very white, and it's not, like I said, it's not as like see-through or clear as I would have liked it to be, or as, I don't know, voluminous. It kind of gets really cramped in there and it just turns more like a solid white. So anyway, we'll keep moving on with development, looking for yarns that are already good the way they are, that can just be immediately knit on the machine. It's better for production anyway. Thanks for watching. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of my yarn development. A lot of my development is like this. It's kind of technical, where I'm either like figuring out a stitch. I might do a stitch next. There's a stitch that I want to do, so I might do that like tomorrow or something and do a video. Let me know down below how you feel about the development, and if you're working on any development yourself, let me know. And subscribe. Bye.